So I just entered the 11th grade in the Bulgarian high school that I used to go to, and there were those, debates, not debates, but there was those elections for the school parliament, let's say, like for the student leadership, and it was one v one. It was one versus the other person, and it was like very localized in certain people. So it wasn't like a party versus a party, but just a regular someone who would like to take on this responsibility, let's put it this way, versus the other one who would like to do that. And at first I didn't want to do that, but then I said, yeah, why the hell not? Let's try. It's just an experience, life maxing from then on mindset. And I was and I was trying to get elected, and there was another person, another guy who wanted to run for this thing as well. He had his non-profit organization already running in 11th grade. He was pretty, making steps to success. You can say that he was somewhat popular. I was not also the last guy in school, so we had this campaign running, going to different classes saying, yeah, vote for me, whatever. Then the election day comes when the whole school is about to vote. And on this morning, I wasn't feeling very well. I think I got a flu or something, and I had a PE class the first thing in the morning, because we used to start like at 7:30 the first class in the morning a.m. And I got like my tracksuit, so nothing fancy. On the contrary, it was quite sporty, casual. Uh, I mean the fit. I got to school. Everybody is hyped about the elections. The whole school is talking about it. Then the election pool is there. Everybody's voting. There were some things with like tossing the votes or whatever bullshit. It doesn't really matter. But I realized then he came with the full suit on, and he looked great. Like, to be honest, like, three-piece suit. Like, that's how I should have come. I realized, and I lost by 28 votes. So I had 600 votes, and he got 628, 630 votes. Let's put it this way. So like the whole school was voting, and we beat the record by a large margin for how many people participated in the voting in the elections. And so I lost by a small margin, and I fell down. I thought, man, I would never wear something like this ever again. Not here, not now, not on big occasions, but in general. You never know what the day brings to you. If you believe in God, you never know what the God presents to you on the coming day. So you always have to be prepared, because life is gonna give you obstacles either way. It's better for you not to hinder your success by your own actions. So take responsibility what you can control. For example, dress well. By in this way, you are showing respect to the people in front of you. You are always ready for some occasions that may require an official attire. Let's put it this way. Um, and so that was one of the lessons that I got from there. The second lesson is, we had an opportunity to cheat there, to put some votes on my name, and my friend who suggested that idea, and I said, yeah, why the hell not? Let's fucking go. And he said, oh no, there's no point. He gave up on that idea later on, throughout the day. And I said, well, okay, I'm not fighting for this idea. You suggested it. Like, I'm not saying yes explicitly or formally or anything like that, but if you do that, it's fine by me. Of course, I'm gonna deny everything, etc., etc. And he didn't do it. He said, "Oh, there's just no way you're gonna win. So it's just trouble for nothing. Like putting in the votes, although it wasn't that big of a deal, to be honest. Doesn't matter. And I still lost by a small margin. So if we got this thing going on, and if I had won, and if he casted those votes for somebody else, because they were like super primitive way of casting votes, like some pieces of paper cuts, and you can name, you didn't have to write your name on it. So it's fucking bullshit, whatever. um, yeah. And so the interesting part about this thing, and what got me thinking about it today precisely, is that I didn't win the president of our school. The other guy got it, and shook his hand. Uh, it was okay by me. Like I respected this guy, no hard feelings. Okay, you won. But then the administration of the school said, Savelli, you got some drive on you. You're making moves. We're gonna put you as a chairman of the student library council. It was called this way, like the library club council in our school. And our school, once again, was like 1,200 people, or like 1,300 people or something. So it wasn't big of a school, but it was some people there. We had a decent library, I would say. Small, yeah, um, with its own drawbacks, but still. And nobody was doing this role like for several years now. Like some students set up this library council like 10 years prior to me coming there, and I didn't even know that we had such a thing. So it was abandoned along the way. And so I was put there to lead the whole thing. I met with the librarian there, a lovely woman. When I visit my school even after I graduate, because I live close by, I have like some teachers that became my friends there. She's one of the people that I go to when I go to my school, just to say hi. She's a lovely lady, well, librarian. It's a stereotypical librarian you can imagine, lovely woman. And I started digging into history and what's going on in the council. It was abandoned, like nobody, like spider web all around, so not touched for years, basically, metaphorically. And so I decided to make some posts. I knew like social media stuff. I was already posting for not for several years. Well, yeah, I assume, yeah, for several years I've been posting on social media at this point, and I thought, man, the social media of this thing is like two-digit number. It's a joke. Come on. And I decided to make some social media posts. I started cross-posting. From then on, I knew this was the move that I had to do. So everything, right? And little by little, I was just flabbergasted by the freedom I had to do everything that I wanted to. I had the absolute freedom to make whatever I want, whatever content, whatever initiatives. It was only up to me. I was my own boss. I was the boss of the whole thing. And if I had told the librarian, let's do this initiative, she would say, yes, please do something, right? So I had the support. I had the creative freedom to do so. So it was only up to me what I do. And this was probably one of the first projects that I was really enthusiastic about, and I picked that enthusiasm as I went, right? And so I remember I was making this post. I started making interviews with teachers in our school, which was a huge success, not only in our school but even outside of it. For example, we had this musician, teacher of music and musical art, and he was like a famous guy in some circles, right? Especially in his own home village, home country, home town. And because Bulgaria is so small, like everybody knows each other. And so I started making those interviews. And for example, the interview with him went so viral that our school got recognized even beyond our academic achievements, because it was quite a successful school in terms of like achievements we got on some matriculation exams, for example, right? It was a prestigious school, to put it this way. And so they were becoming more and more popular. People in our school started to understand more about the library council that we had. I was the only person there by far, by a large margin. I got some people, like my friends, people who went to library from now often. I got some people recommended from the librarian. So I got a small circle of people, like-minded individuals who are passionate about books, who were into the books or into me. There were those people as well. And little by little, it started picking up. We started organizing events with famous writers. We started becoming the only working and functioning media in this high school of ours. And I was the face of it. I was running the whole thing. And I would make such, some creative stuff, I would say. I'm still proud of some of the things that I do. I'm saying that without humbleness, When I was some things, like I used to take a picture of our library, put some, like dirty chauga music, like some gypsy music on it, put some captions and put it on a story on Facebook and Instagram. And because everyone was on Instagram and Facebook in our school, and they had, I started making pushing friend requests. So people were already in the network by the time I started making some really creative stuff. And when I did those stuff, it took it took on. It gained traction because I got people in the network already. Just because it's some people thought, okay, it's that something from our school. Okay, asking a friend request or subscribe to me or whatever. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna subscribe back. That was the majority of the cases. Some of the cases were, oh, whatever. I'm not gonna subscribe. Doesn't matter. So I'm making this like cool stuff, and not only this, but some videos, some photos. We're making initiatives like books, like swapping. You got a book, you get a book in return, you give a book, and so this stuff. And I grew this so big that we started making a book club, like a book club. Basically, we used to gather once in 2 weeks, like bi-weekly, or once in a month, like something like this, like each Wednesday, I believe. And we used to set up democratically a book that we will discuss next time, and we all must have read by next time this book. And like we vote, for example, the first book. I don't even remember what the first book was, but we discussed like Harry Potter, for example. Basic literature in the beginning that everybody have read, like The Little Prince, for example. And we used to talk about it and have discussions, and I was the leading person in those discussions. And little by little, I was trying to thank people who used to come to those things, and they were so popular that like we used to gather like 30 people in those book circles. And if you run something like it, or if you attended something like it, you know that 30 people in those like book sessions, like discussing books or discussing one book, it's a staggering amount. For example, specifically for a school that it's like 1,300 people there, and it was popular. People were discussing it. There was a buzz about it, and there was a buzz about the books in general, which is the craziest part. And I used to recite like some some poems, some cool stuff, some creative stuff. And little by little, I spent approximately a year and a half there, 2 years there, running it, actively growing it, and it was pretty popular. In Plovdiv specifically, I used to make some videos. So yeah, the lesson from this whole video is that you never know what the life presents to you. One door closes and many other open. So take everything you have at your disposal and more in order to to make something good. And I honestly enjoyed those things. I enjoyed posting those. I enjoyed promoting books. I enjoyed promoting reading and getting literate and all those stuff. It was such a nice time now when I think about it, and I thought, man, I'm so glad and happy that that person who offered me to toss in the votes for me didn't do that at the end of the day. And I lost. I'm grateful that I lost, and I got this opportunity to be in the library council, because in the meantime, the parliament, so this guy that was elected and his a bunch of other people that ran with him, like it's his vice president or whatever bullshit treasurer, they didn't do like a small percentage of what we did, because it all stems from personal responsibility, from proactiveness, from enthusiasm, and we had those. Yes, those guys did something, like they put some benches in our schoolyard and whatever. It was more fictional than actual, and ours was hard work, and we actually achieved something. And I'm super grateful. That was one of the most unique experiences in my life, and I enjoyed it. When I look back, and that's why I say that once in a while think about those times, because they were filled with great creative energy, with like-minded people. That's what I wanted to do, something like this right now in the university that I'm at. Approximately the same amount of people study there right now, 13 to 1400 people, 1200. And we're doing the podcast there. We're doing different things now, and like this is the stuff that I really enjoy, like being my own boss, not having an authority, a boss over me, and having this freedom in all senses Surely, back in high school, we got the administration there, but you're always gonna get administration. There's no such thing as an absolute freedom. There's a freedom is a spectrum. There's a lack of freedom, slavery, and there's full freedom, anarchy. And my honest take is that you don't want either of those. You want the maximum amount of freedom that would keep in the lawful system, right? So laws are there with the free speech protected and so on, but still. So I got the freedom, the creative freedom to do whatever I want, to make my own stuff, and it worked. So yeah, just wanted to share that with you. Some good memories and good stuff, and probably I'm gonna remember this for the rest of my life. And the lesson is that always take the maximum and try to achieve with everything at your disposal, and don't blame fate, authorities, corruption, or whatever bullshit is at you, because you always have those problems.